All right.
I don't know what of mine you know of or how you even came across my name, but I'll do what my best for you.
Yeah. Well, I've seen and heard a lot about your book. And of course I've come across a lot of your stuff on Facebook. So
Oh, yeah, some of that's kind of hit and miss.
I don't know if you're too familiar with me. I know a lot of people aren't, but
Well, I follow your channel as best I can. I follow a lot of channels,
yeah,
but yours is in there. I've seen some of your videos. I know you've spoken to Lancer.
yeah,
So yeah, you're kind of, I hope you don't mind the comparison, but the research community a lot of times is not tremendously open to very young people, but they were to me and
yeah,
they are to you. So to me, this is almost like watching how I progressed a little bit. You got to get your name out there
yeah,
and people get to know you a little bit and you meet people at conferences and they go, "Oh, you're the new guy." So
yeah.
so yeah, I'm familiar with a little bit of what you've done anyway.
Huh. Wow. Well, I guess I'll just start off of first of all, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
I had 18 years in law enforcement after I graduated college. Uh, and that was I started in 98. So that's around the time I was going to Dallas a lot. I actually stopped going probably about 2005. It because at that time, and I haven't been back since, but there were a lot of very heated discussions. 9/11 crept into it a little bit,
Mm,
and I got tired of that. I thought, I really would like to just talk about Kennedy, and let's keep the other stuff for another conference.
yeah.
But no, I'm in Northwest Kansas, middle of nowhere, so Dallas is quite a drive, but I love the town. Um, Used to know my way around down there a little bit. So,
Huh.
but I had that book published in '03, '02, and spoke a couple times down in Dallas. I was on some panels and stuff like that. Um, and then I got busy with being a cop. So it kind of trailed off a little bit, but people still contact me, still know me. I do podcasts for Robbie Robertson. Um, I've got a lecture on YouTube that's like 90 minutes. Um,
Wow.
yeah, Vince Palomaro was nice enough to post that for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm good friends with him.
yeah, Vince, Vince and I, when I first went to Dallas, my very first year was 96, and we clicked right away. And he's always one that talks about my book, or he'll write a nice little review on something about it, or he's like one of my biggest supporters. I'm very grateful to Vince for everything he's done over the years.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers the much about me thing, but that's what I've got.
Yeah, that's good. Uh, well, I forgot to say, if you can, like, I don't, I want the answers to be as long as possible. Go into as much detail as you can.
Okay.
Uh, okay. My second question is, how did you first get interested in the assassination in general?
In the mid 80s, there was a show that was on HBO, and HBO, of course, repeats shows multiple times during a month or whatever it is. It's been a long time since I've had HBO, but there was a show called The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, and it was hosted by Orson Welles, and they did a section on how Nostradamus allegedly predicted the Kennedy assassination.
Huh.
which is sort of a footnote in the story because what really got my attention was they showed the Zapruder film. Now, I was about 10 when I first saw this.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't a very good copy. So it wasn't as graphic as it is now. So it wasn't that bad for a 10-year-old. Really, you didn't see the spray, you just saw the body movement and stuff. So it wasn't like my parents were like horrible parents, go ahead and watch that. Um, but that video of the Zapruder film really captured my attention because they said, if there is a second gun, is he involved? Is he pictured in this film? And I was very intrigued by that. And then in the late 80s, A&E started showing The Men Who Killed Kennedy, which is a British TV miniseries. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it used to just be 6 parts, and they've since extended it. But I used to watch that whenever it came on. And then the movie came out in 92. And I remember reading an article like in Newsweek or something, and they had the Mormon photo. And that clicked back to the first episode of The Men Who Killed Kennedy, the interview with Gary Mack and Jack White.
Hmm.
And that really intrigued me. So I called down to Dallas to the defunct, shortly thereafter, place called the Assassination Information Center.
Hmm.
And I think they're out of business anyway. But I asked them, how do I get a copy of that Mormon photo? A good copy, not something I cut out of a magazine that's 2x3 or something.
Yeah.
And they said, well, if you just want pictures, call Gary Mack over at KXAS Television in Fort Worth. This was before the Sixth Floor Museum was a museum, and Gary was the curator for so many years before he passed away. But I called Gary Mack, and he said, well, I can't get you that picture because there's some possible litigation as to what it may or may not contain. So if you just want pictures, why don't you call Phil Willis over in Dallas or in Arlington? Well, now I know that you probably know who Phil Willis is.
Yeah.
At the time, I did not. So I thought I'm calling some photo collector, some, just enthusiast, whatever. And I get this kind of grouchy old man on the line. And he starts talking about, well, my picture shows the last frame of Kennedy and Johnson in the same frame, and my picture shows this, my pictures show that. And I realized completely by accident, I've gotten an eyewitness on the phone.
Huh.
And that was an extremely enlightening conversation because, Phil Willis was one that definitely believed in a frontal shot.
Yeah.
And I bought his set of slides, 12 35 millimeter color slides for $100.
Hmm.
Worth every penny. And they're from him, which now that he's gone kind of adds to the
Yeah.
novelty of it. But my dad had been in the Air Force in the 70s, and he was a flight line supervisor, and he says, you would be amazed what you can accomplish with the phone. So I got my hands on a Dallas phone book, and I started going through the report and picking out interesting witnesses like James Alkins or Bill Newman or Amos Ewens. And those people were all in the phone book. I couldn't believe it.
Huh.
And you'd call him, and Charles Brim, I got him on a Sunday afternoon. He just picked up the phone and we talked for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, James Alkins and I actually got to be pretty decent friends, even though he was a lone nut guy.
Yeah.
He respected my opinion and I respected his because he was there. We just happened to disagree, but he was kind enough. He actually proofread a term paper for me
Oh wow.
on the Kennedy assassination. Yeah. He signed pictures for me. He did all kinds of stuff. So I talked to these witnesses, and I know I'm going on, but you said you wanted
Yeah,
long
that's
answers.
fine.
Okay, if it gets to be too long, which you could, just say, and in summary, whatever you need to say.
That's it.
Um, but I decided, well, with the advice my dad gave me, you'd be amazed what you can do with a telephone. I thought, I'm getting these witness statements that are all over the board. Like one guy said he heard maybe 11 or 13 semi-automatic gunfire reports. And then I've got James Algan saying 3. I've got others saying I only heard 2. Um, this is all over the board. How do I resolve this? And I thought, well, the doctors at Parkland are trained observers. They're trained to function under pressure. That might be the most unbiased opinion that I would get, would be if I could get some of these doctors on the phone. And right at that moment, we're talking like April 93, um, Dr. Crenshaw came out with his first book, JFK Conspiracy of Silence.
Huh.
He was in the Fort Worth phone book. But the first doctor that I called was actually Robert Shaw, who worked on Governor Connally, as you know.
Hmm.
And he was pretty old and failing a little bit. But he said, I never believed the single bullet theory. Well, now for first doctor out of the gate, I'm thinking, wow, that's a pretty. I don't know what to do with that. So I thought, well, let's call some of these Kennedy guys. So the first guy I called was Ron Jones.
Hmm.
And he actually wanted to verify that I was who I said I was. So I had to have him call my high school and he called my physician who delivered me
Huh.
when I was born. And he said, yeah, I've had some people call me lately that are not who they say they are. So pardon my paranoia. I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. But I would like to make sure that you're not somebody trying to get something out of me that maybe isn't appropriate or whatever.
Yeah.
So he said, call me back tomorrow. So I called him back the next day and he said, yeah, my secretary said you're who you say you are. So what do you need to know? So I got like a great hour and a half out of him.
Wow.
And then I called Dr. Crenshaw and got quite a bit of time out of him. And then I called Bob McClelland at home. Um, McClelland's home number was in the phone book. Um, Usually you had to go through the hospital. Like Dr. Jones, I had to call Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas.
Hmm.
Um, but Crenshaw and McClelland were both in the phone book. So I called Dr. McClelland and he starts talking about how he's so sure there's a frontal shot. Jones, if you've read any of my stuff, and there's some articles online you can get for free.
Hmm.
Um, Jones, if you read between the lines, believes, and I say believes because I believe he's one of the last living guys still around from that day at Parkland. But he definitely believed in the second gun. So it just snowballed from there, and most everything stayed on a medical track. I got J.J. Humes on the phone one time, and
Wow.
he wanted to lecture me Um,
Huh.
he was polite, but there was an edge to it.
Mhm.
Um, and he's like, oh, these people have these conferences and they come to Dallas and they massage each other's egos. And he was very sort of dismissive of the research community. So I called JT Boswell, who was, let's see, Humes was in Florida and Boswell was still in Bethesda. And
Huh.
he didn't want to talk, but he did tell me, and it had just come out in the Journal of the American Medical Association a year earlier,
Mhm.
that JFK had no adrenal glands really to speak of left at autopsy. So he would not have survived a second term, um, which I thought was pretty interesting coming from him. But he did not want to talk about the actual gunshot wounds or anything. And I couldn't get to
Mhm.
Fink because Dr. Fink lived in Switzerland. And in those days, international calls were just insanely expensive.
Yeah.
So that's, I'd say the long and the short, but it's the long of how I got into it.
Yeah. Well, you just about answered my next two questions, so
Oh,
uh,
well, I do have my dad's gift of gab, so pardon me.
oh, that's all right. I guess was it your first intention to write a book, or did you decide that later?
I didn't decide that. I when I got to college in '93, I think it was Dr. Jones, and I interviewed him multiple times. So we had a series of conversations over months. But Dr. Jones, who later I got to meet in Dallas, along with Crenshaw, um, but Dr. Jones mentioned Dr. Aguilar, Dr. Gary Aguilar out in San Francisco.
Hmm.
And he said, you need to get a hold of him because they're starting this research group called COPA, the Coalition on Political Assassinations.
Hmm.
So I got a hold of them, and the next thing I know, I got Dr. Aguilar calling me, and he says, can you do me an abstract of your conversation with Dr. Jones? And I will present it at the first COPA conference. I said, sure. So the next thing I know, Dr. Weck's calling me, wanting to know what I've got and how new is it. And by then, I'd started a letter writing campaign where you may have seen it online. There's a drawing of the back of the head that McClellan did.
Hmm.
And at the top of it, it says, Brad, an exact copy of a drawing I did for Josiah Thompson in 1966. Signed Robert McClellan. I believe it's dated January 24th, 1994.
Huh.
Um, but I started sending that to every physician that I could get an address for, including Dr. Jackie Hunt, um, who Dr. Crenshaw was really big on. You need to talk to Hunt. And, um, she never gave interviews, and she really didn't give me much of one on the phone. But when I sent her that drawing, she returned a letter that said, that is essentially the memory that I have of the injuries. That I got that a lot. That's what Dr. Jones said. That's what Dr. Peters said.
Huh.
That's what Dr. Richard Delaney said.
Hmm.
Um, Now, Dr. Ken Salyer, um, he moved the wound from his original statements to the Warren Commission. He redrew the wound on the drawing that I sent him and said, this is incorrect. This is actually what it looked like, is this hole up here rather than in the back.
Huh.
But I ended up sending all of this stuff to Wecht and to Aguilar, and then Vince has got copies of most of it, if not all of it. But that became kind of my entry into the research community, and I started writing these articles for JFK Lancer's publication.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point in, I believe it was 2002, Deborah Conway called me. And she says, we're getting a lot of requests for your articles. And I don't know what to say. I'm like, okay, so Xerox them? I don't know. Just send out copies. I don't need to be paid for it. And she's like, well, I'd like to take your stuff and put it in an anthology. And I said, there's like 4 of us in the country that are this far into the Dallas side of things. And we all know what each other's doing. So, because we all work together.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it'll sell. And she said, oh, I think you might be surprised. Let me put this together, and I'll get Mary Farrell to write an introduction for it, and it'll be great. So I went to Dallas the next year and had a book signing table and all that stuff. But it was really Deborah was sort of the impetus for that. It hasn't sold very well. It used to come with a softcover copy and a CD-ROM. The CD-ROM had my introduction and then the subsequent lecture by Dr. Jones at a JFK Lancer conference. But it also had a PDF of the book itself, and it was $25, and it wasn't selling. And I told Deborah, I said, I told you it wouldn't sell. And she's like, well, we're just going to make it a CD only for $12.50, and we'll see what that does. And it didn't really do any more. Vince probably bought half the copies that that were sold. But I don't know. It was kind of cool to get, and I'm sure you'll get it someday at the rate that you're going.
Yeah.
When the book came back, I had an international serial book number of my own, which was like a big thrill for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I really that was like my favorite part of the book was my own international serial book number.
Huh.
And it's subsequently been released on Kindle. And a friend of mine came one time and said, well, I just read your book on Kindle. And I'm like, I didn't know I was on Kindle. Let me see what this looks like. And there's some charts in the book that are made up of columns.
Mm-hmm.
And Kindle actually had to put a column on each page. Well, when your left-hand column specifies which doctor you're talking about, and the next 3 pages are different columns with random X's in them, it's kind of hard to tie this X back to, Dr. Paul Peters or Dr. Malcolm Perry,
Yeah.
Jim Carrico, those all guys that I talk to. But no, it was never my intention. So when I was in high school and even in college, and I was approaching these people, and I spent 5 years in college. I'm that bright. I took 5 years to get the 4-year degree because I changed my major halfway through. But I could honestly say in those days I'm just working on a term paper, which I was. It wasn't until years later that it became a book. So, it's kind of cool to have one out, but at the same time, it didn't sell very well, and that I'm like, I told her. But that's something that Deborah and I kind of joke about. I haven't talked to Deborah in a long, long time. We used to kind of joke about that.
Yeah. Well, my next question is, in your book, you focus a lot on the head wound, and a lot of the criticism I've seen and heard
Mhm.
seems to be about that. Would you agree with that? And do you regret not asking different or more questions?
I was pretty young and just learning how to interview people. Um, as I'm sure you probably went through that phase where you're like, okay, this is my first interview, I gotta get this right.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, to me, the throat wound is a lot harder to argue because there's no question that it was there.
Hmm.
The question is the size. And the there are only like five, I believe 4 or 5 physicians. It's been so long now I don't recall, who saw that wound. So to me, the head wound is really where the differences in statements stand out.
Yeah.
So yeah, could I have covered the throat wound a lot better? Certainly. Is that a valid criticism? Oh yeah. Um, but I don't know that I would do anything any different.
Yeah.
Um, it's not like it was a huge seller and I've got thousands of people online complaining about this. It just pops
Yeah.
up here and there in a review, and it's valid. And I understand people's perspective on that. But I didn't set out to do a comprehensive medical thing like, say, Lifton did.
Yeah.
I set out to do, well, geez, here's where the discrepancy lies the most is the head wound, and here's what I found. So I've thought about redoing it, but I don't have that much more. There's not that much material that I have from the doctors that's unpublished. I've got a lot of stuff from witnesses that no one's ever seen. But the problem is a lot of those are on micro cassette tapes because that's how old I am. Um, and getting them digitized has in the past when I've looked into it, it's proved a little difficult.
Well, that was actually my next question is a lot of researchers I know and I talk to would like to see transcripts or even your recordings themselves released. And do you ever plan on making them available?
Um, yeah, some of it that I haven't released it is that there's some interviews where I'm awkward because I'm 17 years old and just learning how to do this.
Yeah.
But you know, it, I'm, I may get to a point where I'm like, okay, it's time to do that.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of people who haven't really released a lot of stuff like that. Like for years, Lifton was very guarded on that stuff, and then he
Yeah.
donated it all to the AARB. But I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, there's certainly nothing in there that I'm trying to hide. It's not like I misrepresented anything. I was very, very true to what was said and how it was said. Like Dr. Jones, I point out, was very careful in his wording. He would say, that is not incompatible with a frontal shot. He wouldn't say that was a frontal shot. He'll say
Yeah.
or he would say that would be compatible, yes. So I wouldn't rule it out. Um, I just haven't gotten to it yet, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it just occurred to me. You said you lived in like northwest Kansas.
Yeah, yeah, about as far northwest as you can get.
I'm actually up here in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't think too far. So, and I mean, I think I'm able to digitize the stuff if you'd like. I'd do it
Oh,
for
I thought you
free.
were in Dallas. Um, you actually live in Kansas City?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we may need to talk about that because do you have a way
Okay.
to do micro cassettes?
Uh, I can I can get a tape deck or something. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that may be something that when I've got more time, I got several things going on here lately,
Yeah.
but that may be something that I would, you know, the difficulty would be in parting with them. That would
Yeah.
be
Oh, I could
nothing
even.
against you by any means.
Yeah, but I could I could do it right there at your house. They wouldn't have to leave your house. It just.
Oh, that's actually quite a ways. I'd probably just ship them to you.
Oh.
Um, no, because to be honest, I don't know how much time is on those tapes.
Yeah.
This might be, it might not be like a weekend trip. It may be
Yeah.
this is a multi-month, do it a little bit along as you can kind of thing. I don't know because it's difficult this many years later. We're looking at 35 years.
Yeah.
Um, it's difficult to know how much stuff there is, but that is certainly something that I will keep in mind and consider. I appreciate that very much.
Okay. Well, that was all the questions I had. It was really nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. And you know what's interesting is usually you talk to somebody on the phone and you have no idea what they look like, and now I'm like, okay, well, there's the face that goes with this voice. So, no, I very much appreciate your interest. I'm glad that we had a time that worked out right off the bat because I've had those, and I'm sure you've had them,
Yeah.
those interviews that you work for weeks to work out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't do. I'm out of town this week, and next week's not good, and um, but no, if I may ask, and if you're uncomfortable answering this, that's fine. Is that a very, very common thing about Parker should release his transcripts and stuff?
Uh, say that again?
Oh, is it very common for the researchers and stuff that you've talked to mention that about me, that I need to release this, that, or the other?
Uh, I mean, at least the people that I talk to that are aware of your book, a lot of
Hmm.
them, there's only a couple, unfortunately, but
Oh yeah,
uh,
it was like I said, it was a small seller.
I know just in general, a lot of people just want all the recordings out there, or at least transcripts of them. Uh, and I think it's yours, and uh, Gerald Posner's that we don't have of the Parkland doctors, and that's just about it.
And I've hit up Posner in the past for those because if you read Case Closed, a lot of the doctors that I'm talking to are giving almost contradictory statements
Huh.
to Posner. And I wonder, he got fired, and I don't mean to bring up too much dirty laundry,
Yeah.
but he got fired from Slate.com several years ago for um what do you call it when you take someone's work and pass it off as yourself?
Oh,
I'm drawing.
plagiarism.
Please, yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of drew a blank there. But he got fired for that, and it makes you wonder about, is he accurate on that stuff?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if Posner. I guess Vince has released a lot of stuff via his
Yeah.
YouTube channel. Um, but no, I don't know if it'll happen anytime soon. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's certainly that's another valid criticism.
Yeah.
that and right now it's a thing of I just don't have the sort of infrastructure to do that.
Yeah.
So no, I was not aware of that. I appreciate you drawing my attention to that.
Yeah. And another thing I will say, you said that Vince might have some of it. Um,
He doesn't have copies of the recordings, but he's
yeah.
got a lot of the letters that maybe didn't make the book.
Yeah.
Because the book contains letters from the doctors
Yeah.
and then articles that I pull stuff. I was always very careful about context.
Yeah.
Like like I would make sure that it said in the in fact it says in my Jones article, Dr. Jones is understandably careful about the language he chooses.
Yeah.
I felt that was only fair. Um, because he's not giving definitive statements like, well, he was definitely shot from the front. He's saying
Yeah.
it's compatible, but that's different than saying, oh, he was definitely shot from the front.
Yeah. I was gonna say, uh, for some reason, Vince has, I guess, chosen to take a break for now, and there was
I, you know,
another transcript I asked him for of another interview, and he said he didn't have it, and it seems that he doesn't have a lot of his stuff anymore, unfortunately.
oh, I think he's moved a time or two, possibly.
Yeah.
And it's probably in a box somewhere that just never got unpacked. I Vince is pretty meticulous about stuff.
Yeah.
And his stuff is important enough that I can't see him just sort of, willy-nilly sort of like, oh, well, my interview with John D. Reddy, that can go in the trash. I just can't see that.
Well, I know he gave all of his Secret Service interviews to the ARB, uh, because they have them.
How accessible are those? I've never tried to get anything from the National Archives or anything.
Well, I mean, most of the stuff that the researchers gave to the ARB you really can't get to. Uh, they very recently released all of Lifton's interviews that he gave them, and I mean, that was very, very significant.
Oh, yeah. David, unfortunately, was not my biggest fan. Um,
Yeah.
he jumped me the first time I was in Dallas. I went up to him to have my copy of Best Evidence signed,
Huh.
and he turned around and I said, "I'm Brad Parker." And before I could get any further, he says, "I know exactly who you are." He said, "You're the one that's sending material to my detractors, but you don't have the decency to send it to me." And I said, "Sir, you wrote what is it, 700-page, what's regarded as, an epic work. And why would I trouble you with a 5-page article that I wrote?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, that's not the point." So I started emailing him articles, but he was not a big fan. I'd run into him in Dallas, and he would almost go out of his way to avoid me.
Yeah.
But I kept sending those articles because that was his complaint.
Yeah. Yeah, I know him and Livingstone were odd people.
Livingston, I've heard some horror stories from Palomar on that. I don't know exactly what all went on, but yeah, Livingston seems to have worked hard to obtain a bad name.
Yeah.
But
And his interviews are even more that we don't really have. I think we have 36 of his 130 interviews he did that we know about.
Yeah, see, and I'm getting to the age, I just turned 51 a couple weeks ago, and and I'm single,
Hmm.
and I don't really have much family left. So I've got all this Kennedy research stuff, and a lot of it's just signed stuff, like Clint Hill signed a book for me and that kind of thing. But some of it I think is pretty valuable. Some of the letters, some of the interviews that I thought, what am I going to do with this stuff when, or what's going to happen to this stuff? Not what am I going to do, but you know, you get to be a certain age, you start contemplating your own mortality,
Yeah.
and especially after a health scare or two. And I'm like, well, I guess I could leave instructions in this. I keep everything in safes, fireproof safes.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I could just leave instructions that those be sent to perhaps say the Kennedy Library or perhaps the National Archives or whatever, so that it didn't end up in a landfill because somebody didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully I'm talking about something 20 or 30 years off, but
Yeah.
I'm a procrastinator, so I like to start at least thinking about stuff early, even if I don't get it done.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, the stuff will come out probably when I'm pushing up daisies, or as my friend says, on the wrong side of the lawn.
Huh.
Um, so but I will definitely keep you in mind on the digitization thing, and I appreciate the offer very much.
Yeah. Like I said, I could do that for free. I mean, I'm not gonna charge for it because I mean, I want the stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that would I appreciate that as well. Because I would pay you for it. I don't know how much I could pay. Things are a little tight now and then,
yeah.
but I think that's kind of the way of the world anymore. But no, I will definitely keep you in mind. I didn't know that you did that sort of thing. So
Yeah. Well, I've got tons. Like, I'm good friends with Robert Groden, and
yeah, yeah,
we've been scanning a lot of his stuff.
he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
He took a beating during that O.J. Simpson civil trial, and
Oh, I know.
that was difficult to watch because the next time I saw him in person, you could almost see that he you could see the strain,
Yeah.
and I really tried to support him during that whole thing.
Yeah.
He was always fantastic to me,
Yeah.
and that I always found that deal interesting where the city of Dallas has issued him what, like 175 tickets or something
Yeah.
for his presence in Dealey.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just outrageous. Like, you can't even claim you're not persecuting people.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems extreme. Can you name anyone else to get that many tickets? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think the somebody just didn't like Mr. Groden, which
Yeah.
I don't understand because I've had no reason whatsoever not to like the guy.
Yeah.
But he probably doesn't even remember me. But if you talk to him, please give him my regards.
Yeah. I will.
But like I said, he may not remember me. But
Yeah. I
it's
know.
been a lot of years.
I know his memory isn't too great nowadays. Unfortunately, he has his good days and his bad days. But
Oh, that's sad to hear.
yeah.
'Cause the last time I saw him, he was signing autographs and he had one pen, and his um his pen quit. And I had a pen that was given to me as a college graduation gift. It was probably a $30 or $40 pen that someone had given me, and I ended up giving it to him because he's like, "Are you sure this is a really nice pen?" And I'm like, "You're the one that needs it more than I do right now, pal." Um, that he was nice enough. I didn't mind giving up my pen so he could continue signing books for people.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so no,
know.
that's sad to hear.
Yeah, I know. Health wise, he's all right. I know he had some kind of something that happened to him a couple years ago, but he seems to be doing all right now.
Good, good. I wish him the best. He's genuinely one of the good guys.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the first big people that I really even heard of. So I mean, I look up to him a lot.
Yeah, and that's true of me too, because like I said, in the late '80s, I started catching The Men Who Killed Kennedy, and of course, he has a pretty noteworthy presence in that film.
Yeah,
And he looked entirely different then, but it's the same good guy behind that face. That
yeah,
yeah, he's. I always thought that Mr. Grodin was one of the good ones.
yeah,
So can you do me a favor and shoot me a link where this might be when you get to it?
yeah. I can.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
Another thing, just before we go, I wanted to let you know I did look into where William Manchester's stuff went,
Hmm.
and unfortunately, he gave it to a university under the condition that they didn't release it for 100 years.
See, and I find that suspicious right off the bat.
Yeah,
I mean,
but just
either release it or not, whatever you're gonna
yeah,
do. But this time frame thing, it seems like,
yeah,
well, I want to make sure I've shuffled off the stage before anybody discovers that I didn't talk to Herschel Jacks. That kind of
yeah.
thing.
But just because of the nature of stuff, I guess uh
Well,
I
he
think
had some graphic medical stuff in there, as I recall.
yeah, but I think it's about another 40 years. I think the date was 2067. It said,
Wow, that's just ridiculous.
yeah, but I mean, legally, there's really nothing we can do about it until and other than wait.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing with Warren. That they had originally sealed it, for so many years, and a couple of things I understand, like Jackie Kennedy's
Yeah,
testimony, that was incredibly difficult for her, and his kids didn't need to see the details, maybe
yeah,
that kind of stuff. I can understand that a little bit.
and
And it makes you wonder about the William Bruce Pitzer film.
yeah,
That's something that and he died, of course, under some extraordinarily strange circumstances.
yeah,
Um, but that film apparently, by all appearances, at least superficially, cost him his life. And you wonder, is that tucked away somewhere, or was that actually destroyed?
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I've talked to some of those autopsy people, um, be it Paul O'Connor, Gerald Custer, James
yeah,
Jenkins, anybody like that, and they're like, these aren't correct. That's not the film. That's not what he looked like.
yeah,
And you just think, wow, it would be nice to get a hold of these things instead of some staffer asking if it's necessary to release.
yeah.
Enough time has passed now. Just go ahead and put it out there.
Yeah. I think at least with the whole agreement they had now, I think they're just waiting until Caroline dies, and uh,
And that's fair. I
yeah,
mean, she doesn't need to see her dad like that. She needs to just treasure the memories that she has.
yeah. But uh, I there's a lot of stuff that you know a lot of the people in the public don't really know about it, but a lot of stuff is going on. There's going to be a lot more released very soon.
See, and I've distanced myself enough from it, just being busy with other stuff, and I've gotten into other areas like Watergate and weird things like that that
Yeah,
I've followed for a while. The incident that inspired Black Hawk Down, I've researched that extensively, and I've
yeah,
kind of distanced myself enough that I miss a lot of these updates that I
yeah,
get asked all the time because I teach a class once a year at the local college on the Kennedy assassination, just a one
wow,
day seminar thing.
yeah,
But there's just stuff that I get asked about that people want to see, and well, why is it sealed that long? Well, I don't know. You have to talk to the guy that sealed it.
yeah,
um, it would be nice to have those things. In my talks, I never show autopsy stuff, or
yeah,
depending on the room, possibly Zapruder,
mhm,
probably not, because it's got, especially with the digitized versions, it's gotten so clear and graphic that I don't want somebody who's only seen the almost black and white bootlegs like Grodin
yeah,
was dealing with in the early 70s. I don't want somebody being traumatized because Brad Parker happened to be a guest instructor one day. You know,
yeah,
it's out there if people want. I'll tell people, those things are out there. Um,
yeah,
One of the things I like to do, and then if you want to get off the phone, then I understand. But one of the things I like to do in the talks that I do, and I don't do them tremendously often anymore, but
mhm,
it's like once a year and then a college here and there in a different town. But I say, I get done with, okay, here's what these doctors are saying. They're saying, yeah, my original 1964 testimony is correct. And I say, and people, that kind of goes over people's heads because you're throwing a lot of material at them. You really
yeah,
are. That they're going to miss some stuff, just statistically. But I like to say, none of this is new. If you look at Appendix 8 of the Warren Commission report, those medical reports are right there. If you go to Volume 6 of the hearings, you've got a whole bunch of doctors saying something completely different.
yeah,
All I did was go back and get their present views.
yeah,
Now, some of them changed their stories. Jim Carrico changed his story. Malcolm Perry changed his story.
yeah,
Jenkins. I had Jenkins on the phone one time, and I asked him about the cerebrum and cerebellum line in his report to J.C. Price,
yeah,
which is on page 530 of the Warren Report. And he says, I didn't send that, or I didn't say that to J.C. Price. That's not right. You're not reading that right.
huh,
Well, I spelled him the word cerebellum. And I said, well, I'll send it to you. And I mailed it to him. Never heard another word back.
huh,
I mean, yeah, you can hit these doctors with, hey, your story has changed. Um, Giesecke pulled a nice one. Adolf Giesecke, the
yeah,
anesthesiologist, I sent him that drawing, and he wrote right on the drawing, I no longer have a clear and concise memory of of the wounds sustained by President Kennedy, I cannot comment. Well, he gave Posner one hell of an interview.
Huh.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how dumb people think other people are, I guess. That oh well, I'll just change this and no one will notice it.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't mean to keep you with my rambling.
Oh, that's
Um,
all right. I mean, I don't have anything else to do.
well, I just don't. I know I can get long-winded, and I don't want you to be going. Would this dude just shut up? You know.
I talk to a lot of those kinds of people, and I really don't mind it.
Well, that's nice. That especially when you don't have to shut somebody down because
Yeah.
you've got an appointment somewhere or you're just maybe your ear is just tired from the phone, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've been on the phone 6 hours before.
was that with one person?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
That's happened
impressive.
several times.
I never had 6 hour interviews with people, with witnesses or doctors. I don't know who you're talking to. If you're talking to authors, I assume, because most of the people that I talk to are gone now.
Yeah. I just,
Um,
I talk to a lot of other researchers that I know.
yeah, and that's those folks, and I'm not really including myself in this because I've sort of distanced myself to a degree from it. I still have a huge interest in it, but I'm not keeping up with every breaking news thing, this file's released or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm a big believer that nothing good and along the lines of what we want to know, um, that stuff doesn't get committed to paper really.
Yeah.
I mean, or if it does, it's destroyed soon after.
Yeah.
And in the case of if you've got a hit squad, probably a lot of the people involved are disposed of quickly too.
Yeah.
Um, but I do maintain a huge interest in it. But 6 hours, I couldn't do that probably.
Yeah. Well, I
But
know,
you've,
like, there's so many, just by talking to people, I've been able to get so many more interviews that I didn't have. Um, which, I mean, ultimately, my main goal was just to have everything. I'm not,
yeah, I think this case is past from anything solvable.
yeah,
It's now just history. And people research, let's say I've got a friend who is vehemently interested in the Lewis and Clark expedition. Well, what new are you going to learn about that? Nothing. He's just interested in it.
yeah,
And that's where you and I are at
yeah,
in the Kennedy thing. That there's not going to be any one day that some researchers on Facebook going, I've cracked the case after all these years, that
yeah,
the best we can hope for is an interesting document release, but I
yeah,
don't even keep up with that anymore.
yeah. I know, like, a good example is another researcher I know. He actually, Harry Livingstone went to interview a lot of the Parkland doctors at Parkland back in around 1979.
Hmm.
And right after that, he wrote an article and immediately gave the tapes to the JFK library and, never bothered to give copies to anyone. And uh, another researcher I know was able to actually get them from the JFK library, and, their people can hear them for the first time since '79.
Yeah, and from everything that I've heard, he kind of kept things close to the vest anyway. So I'm
Yeah,
surprised that he did donate those. Um, I never came in contact with the guy, but
yeah,
he was apparently not exactly a ball of sunshine.
yeah. I know he died long before I got interested in this stuff, but yeah, I've heard so many stories about him.
Yeah, And that's like the thing with lifting is I try not to, I don't advertise that what I told you,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be accused of,
Yeah.
well, this is just sour grapes, or you can't even pick on somebody who can defend themselves, or that kind of thing. I'm just stating simply the fact that this
Yeah.
is my encounter. You can take it or leave it. This is just what happened.
Yeah.
But I like doing those conversations or those talks where I just give the record. Just go, this witness, so these witnesses said this, these witnesses said that. Here's the discrepancy. You got to go over a little bit of anatomy with people so they understand a medical report. And then I don't lay on them like, okay, it was the CIA or it was the
Yeah.
mafia or it was Cuba or whatever. I don't feel that that's my play. I just
Yeah.
present the record and then maybe my little contributions to the record, and then I'll let people make up their own minds. I'm
Yeah.
not out to convince anybody of anything. Um, I just point stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, my personal belief, I think, I don't, I could care less who actually did it. I don't have any idea who did it, but I think, what the people at the autopsy saw in connection to the back wound is, very significant because I mean, they said that the bullet didn't even go through the chest lining, and
Yeah,
it
and
there was a bruise on the lung, but that was about it.
yeah, and I forget the name of the agent that actually saw that wound hit. So there's confirmation in Dallas. An agent saw that round go through the jacket.
Really?
Yeah, one of the guys in the follow-up car said he saw the president hit in the back, I think was the wording that he used.
Huh?
It wasn't Hill.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say McIntyre. I'm not positive on that.
Huh?
Vince could probably tell you exactly. Um, Secret Service is not an area that I've pursued that much, other than
Yeah.
uh, I'm interested in Clint Hill because he was the first guy to get to him. You know,
Yeah.
he reported, initially that the back of the head was gone,
Huh?
and that was pretty much the statement of the day, that the back of the head was gone. It was never, no one ever. Gary Mack pointed this out, that you've got the Warren Commission saying 3 shots, all from behind, top of the head gone, one bullet hit both people. No one in the history of the assassination that was there described the assassination as occurring in quite that fashion.
Yeah.
Um, which I find interesting with that many witnesses, not that they were in downtown, packed sidewalks, Dallas.
Yeah.
The crowds were thinning, but there's still enough people. You'd think one of them would have said, geez, it almost seemed like one bullet went through both people.
Yeah.
Nobody said that,
Yeah.
which I think is significant.
There's just about, I think, my estimate, there's just about 400 people in Dealey Plaza.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, real quick, have you checked out 6 Seconds in Dallas?
Uh, I, I've read it before.
Okay. That's one of the early ones that I read, and he had a great map in there.
Yeah.
Um, with all that. It's hard. I used to try to get him to reprint that book.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know, I think, gosh, it would be just about a decade ago now that he did Last Second in Dallas.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, there's a great presentation. You've probably seen it that he did about that. Um, I think it's on the sixth floor site, possibly.
Hmm.
But he goes over that book in what's he called it? Granular detail, I think is the term he uses.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing that really struck me is if you remember in that book, he claimed that the head snapped forward like an inch and a half or something,
Hmm.
and then immediately shot backwards, like he was hit from two directions at virtually the same time.
Huh.
And he got up in Dallas, and I really respected this. He says, I've done some further work on this double head snap thing, and I've come to the conclusion that my book from 1967 is ultimately incorrect in that regard.
Hmm.
And for the guy to get up, that was a huge book at the time.
Yeah.
And for him to get up in front of, I don't know, 300 people or whatever, and say, hey, I was wrong. Um, I really respected that.
Yeah.
That's a researcher with some integrity there.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what happened to Mark Lane's stuff?
Um, I I'm not too sure. I know some of his, there's a lot of stuff in the archives from him, but I'm not so sure what happened to his all of his stuff.
No, Mark was I I I doubt you ever met him.
Oh
I don't
no, I
I don't remember what year he passed away. It doesn't seem that long ago to me, but I'm finding that 1990 doesn't seem that long ago to me. Um, but he was a very serious guy, very on task, not much of a sense of humor, but you need to know something about it. He knew it right off the top of his head.
yeah,
Um, that was cool. I was on a panel one time with I believe him and Jim Mars. And man, talk about feeling outgunned. I mean, really, um, that was that was intimidating because I
yeah,
was 18 or something, and here
yeah,
I am with these guys whose books I loved,
yeah,
and Crossfire was one of the first ones I read. The first thing I read was the Warren Report.
yeah,
Because I thought, well, what would be a good starting place? Well, let's start at the official story and see if we spot any obvious problems.
yeah,
And of course, there I had a laundry list of things. And then I went to Best Evidence because I'd heard Best Evidence described as um, the brief for the defense.
yeah,
And from there, I fanned out to I think Best Evidence was next, and Crossfire and 6 Seconds and all those great books. Um, but it was just kind of a progression, and then Crenshaw's book came out. I was really hoping this sounds bad, but I was really hoping. I was involved when Dr. Crenshaw sued the Journal of the American Medical Association.
yeah.
I was one of the researchers on that, and
Wow.
usually I dealt with his attorney, but he we became good friends. He would send me strange newspaper clippings or anything he thought I'd find interesting.
Huh.
But that lawsuit brought a lot of stuff out. They got a lot of people deposed,
Yeah.
and I think most of that stuff's public too,
Huh.
except for um the amount that he um, that he received from the American Medical Association in the judgment.
Yeah.
But I was involved enough in that I was hoping, just hoping, that maybe my name would make his second book, and it did not.
Right.
but Brad Keziah wrote that. He was Crenshaw's attorney,
Yeah.
and did a great job of it. I just kind of wish that I'd, you know, been in some little corner in the book somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's pretty selfish to say, so it sounds
Yeah.
bad.
Well, I know, like, I was gonna say, I know how that felt because, this past year at the Lancer conference, I did a presentation on the Zapruder film, and the first question I got was from Robert Groden, and
Really,
because he was in the audience,
Mr. Zapruder himself, almost.
pretty much.
Yeah, no, that's impressive.
And
Um, you'd think that he would be sort of sitting back, just evaluating, but
yeah,
and I'm sure knowing Mr. Groden, I don't know him well, obviously, but at the time I was acquainted with him fairly well. I'm sure it was a very thoughtful question.
yeah,
Um, but to have one of your sort of research idols, for lack of a better term, I don't know how you feel about him, but that's the
yeah,
way I would describe him to me.
yeah,
Um, to have him be interested enough to be the first guy to step up, because there's always that hesitation.
yeah,
You say, well, I'm open to questions, and then there's
yeah,
30 seconds of silence, and you think, okay, well, evidently something I did wrong here.
yeah,
Um, but no, that's really cool. Um,
yeah. And like I said, I'm a close friend of his. I've had dinner with him several times. And he's been kind enough to show me a lot of his stuff that he has.
yeah, see that, and you're from Dallas, aren't you?
I'm from Missouri.
Oh, I had in my head that you were like in Dallas, and
Yeah, I lived down there for a couple of years, but a lot of stuff happened, and I ended up moving back up here,
so are you on the Kansas side or Missouri side?
Missouri.
That's been a long time since I've been to Kansas City. That's you know that's like a 8 or 9 hour drive.
Huh.
Um, maybe not quite that. It's been a while since I made it. It's been about 10 years since I made that trip.
I
But
was gonna say it's a 8 hour drive from where I am to Dallas.
yeah, from here it's about 13 hours. I go to Salina and then south.
Huh.
Um, but Charles Bram, I remember him talking because he was a Warren supporter.
Yeah.
And he was the very first one that talked about, you're within a day's drive. If you would just drive down here and check this out, you could see that they could have hit him with a baseball from the range that Oswald was shooting.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I thought, the guy's not really wrong, but the evidence doesn't really support that.
Yeah.
Um, Bill Newman was another guy that was really great about that.
Yeah.
In fact, you know Bill?
Oh, I've never met him, but I know who he is.
Yeah, he's a great guy. You might try to hit him up for an interview before he's
Yeah.
gone. He's a really good interview subject.
I'll see if I can get in contact with him.
Yeah, he used to be in the phone book, Bill and Gail Newman.
Huh. Yeah. I know.
Of course.
Pretty soon after this, me and another person are gonna try and reach out to Richard Lipsey, uh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
'cause he's down in Baton Rouge.
See, and that's one of the problems that I had in the pre-internet age is that like J.J. Humes, how did I find him? I have no memory of how I found him.
Huh.
He was in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. Not an obvious place to check.
Yeah.
Um, Bethesda, JJ Hume or JJ Bos or JT Boswell. Yeah, okay. Well, I would expect that. He got out of the service and then he just retired where he was at.
Yeah.
But how I found Hume's, it may have been through the American Medical Association.
Yeah.
But your options for, well, if they're not in Dallas anymore, I don't know where to look. That's the way it was back then.
Yeah. Now, I will say I'm
Um,
quite impressed that you were even able to get an interview with Humes. He did not like to give interviews.
well, like I said, it was more of a lecture than
Yeah.
an interview. It was mostly anti-conspiracy theorists and then anti-conference and how dare you doubt us and all this
Yeah.
stuff. And
But
I'm like, man, your confusion on the entry wound in the back of the skull is enough to make me doubt you.
yeah. But I
Yeah,
know
well,
a lot of the autopsy doctors, I mean, they didn't talk to nearly anyone.
no, they do, the occasional interview for a major newspaper or
Yeah.
something. Jackie Hunt had done an interview, she talked to the Warren Commission, or talked to Arlen Specter rather in a deposition,
Mhm.
and then she gave an interview to the Boston Globe in like
Yeah.
1975. And that was about the last thing anybody'd ever heard of her until I got a hold of her.
Huh.
And there's an article in my book that never appeared in a journal. It's called The Subjective Degree of Medical Certainty. Just because I like sarcasm.
Yeah.
But I was really pleased to get what I got from her. She was great on the phone. She didn't really want to talk too much about it, but she was great on the phone. But when I sent her that paper, she um, she wrote it out. I think that's why she didn't want to talk, is she wanted to be able to choose her words carefully,
Yeah.
which is certainly understandable.
Yeah. I know part of the reason we're going to try and talk to Richard Lipsey sometime soon is in his HSCA interview, he's quite certain that what he saw is what the Warren Commission said, and it's nowhere near that.
So I'm assuming you're going to plan to point that out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a fun moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just watch the backpedaling begin.
Yeah.
That oh well, they didn't transcribe it correctly, or oh
Yeah.
well, that I was having a busy day and misspoke, or
Yeah. And
um
I know, sometimes they can be iffy on if they even want to talk, so we're going to try and. I've got some photos from that night on the loading dock of them bringing the casket in, and
really.
it shows the honor guard truck that he was in, and so we're gonna try and send him to him and see if you know maybe that convinces him to talk.
Yeah, what kind of casket is in that picture? Do you
It's a
know?
bronze casket. I'm familiar with the whole shipping casket thing.
Yeah, see, I tend to, I found people like Paul O'Connor, James Jenkins, Gerald Custer. Those people were all credible enough.
Yeah,
But what was it that Bobby Kennedy wanted to make sure was destroyed in 1966? It was the bronze casket.
yeah. Well, I guess I didn't really have anything else.
Well, I could go on and on, but I won't do that to you. I'll spare you that. I've got podcasts and lectures online if you
Yeah,
ever want to check those out.
yeah, and I'm sure we could talk again sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm always open to that. I appreciate your interest. I really do, even though it's
Yeah.
probably a little bit disappointing to hear how things have trailed off. But
Well, that's all right.
you get to be a certain age and you get busy with work, and
Yeah.
before you know it, it's been 5 years and you haven't done anything on it. And then it's 10 years. And just do the occasional public presentation and that's it. But
Yeah.
no, anytime you want to talk, just let me know. Mondays and Tuesdays are my days off, so
Okay.
if those work for you, um, yeah, just let me know if you ever need anything else.
Okay. Well, it's
Well,
nice to
Alex,
hear from you.
I've enjoyed it immensely. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.